Welcome, everybody, to another Georgia Archery Podcast. I'm your host, Big John Chandler, and this is where we talk about anything and everything to do with archery in the state of Georgia and Georgia archers, wherever they may shoot. Now, let's see, not Dusty, not Crusty. Let's say my homie, my brother from another mother, my co-host, Robbie Surface. What's going on, Robbie?
What's up, big dog?
Did we plan blue? What's up? I mean, did you get the text message? What's up?
No, I did not plan or get a text message, but we've always done a pretty good job of thinking. What is that when you like telepathically thinking? Yeah.
Thinking, yeah. Dude, that's what. Hey, the good part is it makes for a better thumbnail because we don't have the same clothes on. So,
well, true that. True that.
So, what's going on, brother? How's your weekend?
Weekend was great, man. Rained a little bit, which is what it has seemed to do around here a lot here of lately.
You ain't got an airboat yet?
No, I don't have an airboat. Could use an air vehicle if it continues to do what it's doing to get up and down this dirt road. But, yeah, I mean, overall, it was a pretty good weekend. Can't remember that we did anything special. First time in a while that we haven't gone somewhere or done something. So it's kind of nice to just hang out here at the house.
Yeah, well,
Mom and I did shoot our bows on Saturday. We did fling a few arrows.
That's cool. That's awesome. It rained here.
Imagine that.
I worked Saturday. I lazied on Sunday. I did a honeydew list. I had to build a screen door for the front porch, and now I got to build a back one because it looks so good. I got to do it again. And then we went back to work. It was,
it's kind of short, quick.
It's always
short and quick. It feels like.
Yep, but so let's get to it. Who shot this past weekend?
USA Archery had a collegiate outdoor nationals event over at Georgia Southern, and I saw where Matthew Russell just
he did. He
threw down.
He did. Texas A&M was the overall winner for the college.
For the collegiate
team. Overall winners, champs. So congratulations to them. On a side note, Sullivan shoots for Texas A&M. He shot a 7.16 there. Jumped on a freaking airplane. Flew overnight to Korea. Got off airplane, shot for U.S. Archery, and shot a 7.16.
Talking about being on point, son.
For sure. The GBAA had their international round down there at Ogeechee Bowman in the Savannah area, and they put a little light on the subject. They had 29 shooters, and they had a flood in the middle of their tournament both days, Saturday and Sunday.
Imagine that.
So that was not as good as it should have been, I guess, because it's wet and nasty.
Yeah, that's never fun to shoot in.
So those were multi-day events, right? And then on Saturday, your favorite place had their qualifier. They had a good crowd.
Yeah, they had a pretty good crowd.
Gainesville Archery Club had an ASA qualifier and had 54 archers. So that was pretty good.
And then Traditional Bowhunters of Georgia.
Yep, they were over in Forsyth.
And had 100
trad guys.
All in one place at one time.
For sure. Yep. They call that the Dan Quillian Trad Shoot. It's a state championship shoot or whatever they call it. And it was over in Forsyth, and they had a good time. They said it rained a little bit, and but they all had a good time. So that's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of traditional archery going on at one time. You don't see that a lot.
No, and I've gotten some ends on a couple of the traditional guys because they've been giving me this information straight up. He's the one, because they don't post.
Right.
Trad guys don't really post, hey, we had this many and who shot where. They don't care. They're stump shooting and having a good time. So I got a couple of guys on the inside that have been sending me this information, and, we're trying to get them so that we talk more about their stuff too, because they're archery just like we are.
Yeah, exactly. And we'd like to know about it.
Oh, for sure. And I got a couple that may be coming on. John from Bowbender.
Oh, yeah.
He wants to come on as a guest, talk about his kill shoot that's in August. So we're going to get that on and get that.
Okay,
So,
cool. I look forward to that. I like old John.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Let's see. That was a bow fishing tournament. Started at 7 p.m. down there at in Augusta.
Always has a big part of that.
Yeah, they had 16 boats, and
Pretty solid with the weather the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, breaking news. I just got a picture, so hold on. The Big Ten weighed 194.6 pounds. That was 10 fish, and that was String and Sling was the name of the group.
The boat.
Yep. Numbers. Whoever got the most numbers was 169 of dark meat. Was the name
Good
of the,
God.
was the
They
name
were shooting, son.
Yeah, was the name of the boat on that one. Big Fish was knocked and loaded, and it was 31.2 pounds.
Well, I think we talked about it a few weeks back. I got to go, and I've been once now.
Yep.
And, dude, that was some fun. I have contemplated buying some lights for my boat.
Yep.
And,
Yeah,
I don't need any other hobbies.
Yep.
But I could see where that could become a hobby.
Small fish didn't have a weight. I guess they couldn't weigh it. It was Mountain Man was the group that was shooting that, and the longest gar was 47 3/8.
Big old fish.
And that was from Scale Time. So that gives you a little information about, and I wanted to give a little more about that because that's something we don't talk about every day.
No, well, it don't happen every day.
No, they gave away some guns, gave away some stuff. They had a bunch of raffle tickets and had a good time. Kenwood and LJ took a boat and good. And
how'd they do? Do you know?
They had fun, didn't shoot as many as they wanted to, and, well, they didn't get in the hunt. So they wasn't on the hunt. So.
Well, they had fun.
Oh,
I mean, and it's for a good cause, so it's more than just trying to.
Well, you go for free half the time, a little bit of money, and have some fun. It's just as good, right?
Money's always a good reason to do something.
Well, on Sunday, the weather broke in South Georgia, and
a little bit.
And River Bottom Outdoors ended up with 58 qualifying shooters and 85 total shooters.
Pretty solid.
That is pretty good group, I guess, because the rain broke for the other places. Bullseye had a qualifier. I did not see how many they had, and Kennesaw, I didn't see their post, so I'd have no clue of what they got. So,
if y'all are listening to this, both Bullseye, Jeremy and the guys down there, and the folks over at Kennesaw, if you will, send us the information, like, how many shot or anything that you want to highlight.
Yep.
Or you want to be highlighted, send it to us so that we make sure that we can get it on.
That's right. And that's like when I talked to Fish down there at Sweetwater. I said, hey, just make sure you put how many you had, and that way I can copy it off your post every time and it'll be done. He's like, hey, that's a good thinking. I was like, yep. So, but anyway, who's shooting this weekend?
Well, it looks like Appling Archers is having the 2024 BowHunters Festival Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yep, and
so that's a 3-day event.
3-day event. They have church on Sunday, and then they shoot that afternoon. There's about supposedly a group of about 35 or 40 that are registered for Friday morning. They give free breakfast.
Breakfast, I like breakfast.
And then they go out and shoot.
Sounds like a good day to me.
Lots of raffles. Just so happens that Georgia Archery will be there with a booth and some merch to sell and to talk to some people and take some pictures. So Friday, Saturday, I will be there with my photographer in hand to walk around and take pictures and talk to people and all that good stuff. So
how about that? Well, heck yeah.
And then we're going to give away a couple of shirts in the raffle so they can, try to raise a little nickels and dimes.
Mm-hmm.
This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
There's nothing like...
Who's shooting on Saturday? That's never happens.
Never.
I mean, I went back and tried to look at, just scroll Facebook and try to find.
That's kind of odd.
It is very odd.
So there's not a shoot nowhere that you can find on Saturday.
Not that I could find. If I missed it, I apologize.
And if he missed it, y'all send us a message either on Facebook or Gmail
Yep.
or Twitter.
And we'll get it up. I'll push it out, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
But no shoots on Saturday. That's just crazy. But Sunday, Coastal Empire has an ASA qualifier. And that's down in Richmond Hill, Savannah area.
Outback Archery and Range is having a shoot as well.
Yep, and he's down toward Augusta Thompson, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so what his post was, hey, after you get finished at the Appling, come on over and shoot with us, you know.
You got time. I remember the days where we used to do it.
Oh, for sure.
Driving
two
from
a days and
Steve's and Lake Oconee.
Oh, yeah. And then
Christian
over to
BowHunters to one of the others.
Or Robert's at Hillsman.
Robert at Hillsman.
Oh, yeah.
I remember those days.
That's right. Redneck Archery Club. All of them were in that hole. So,
good times.
oh, for sure. And then we'd try to get over to RBO, that kind of stuff, over to Sweetwater, something. But we did a bunch of them. So, but R&D over in Griffin area is having a shoot on Sunday also. So, looks like you're going to have to pick and choose where you want to shoot on Sunday because there's 3 or 4 places to shoot on Sunday. It's weird that we didn't have anything on Saturday. I am super surprised.
Well, it gives you plenty of time to get prepared and all the honeydews and mama doos and daddy doos and daddy doos so that you can shoot on Sunday.
That's right.
You can get everything done, get everything lined out, have some time to practice. There shouldn't be any excuse to sight tapes being wrong because you got all day Saturday with nowhere to shoot.
That's right.
So you got plenty of time to get ready.
Uh-huh. Well, I tell you what, that's pretty quick and easy. Look, we got it knocked out in 12 minutes. How about that?
Well, we didn't drop down no rabbit holes.
We not yet, but you never know
Whoa.
what'll happen.
What?
As you remember last week when we talked and we said we were going to have a special guest.
I do remember something about seeing somebody wearing a bikini bait. No, wait, I'm sorry, wrong conversation.
Wrong conversation.
I can see him down there in his little screen. He's down there dancing like, yeah.
Oh man, but yeah. See, he's on standby down there. But I want you.
You might as well bring him in. I've spilt the beans now.
I will, but I want you to tell me his last name. Come on.
See.
I knew it. Yes. Give it to me.
Nope. That's all I got.
Come on.
No, we do this on a regular basis when we're trying to call out, the ASA names.
But he's here. He can fix it for us.
He's gonna have to.
That's right.
I'm going with CZ.
But anyway, if you've not listened to his podcast, it's South Eastern BowHunter Podcast, and he had some great shows, from T-Bone to MFJJ to Tim Gillingham and many, many more. I don't know I forgot who his last one was. I was going to add it to it. But anyway, let's just bring him on. Here's Erik.
CZ.
What's up,
brother?
How's the world treating you, brother?
What's going on, dude?
Oh, man, while you guys were doing that, I was scrolling through some old photos of Tank, my biggest target buck that I'm after, and I'm ready for deer season. I don't know about y'all, but
yeah, now that turkey season's over and can really start throwing the bait on the ground and filling feeders again, because my properties ain't really big enough. I can't feed deer during turkey season because I can't get far enough away from where I feel like I would be safe.
Yep.
From getting a ticket, so I don't ever feed from up until now. But now that turkey season's gone,
it's time to go.
It's time to start getting some inventory. My wife yesterday on her way home said that a buck jumped out of our woods, crossed the dirt road into the neighboring property, and he was well outside the ears. So I was like, yep, I've got to get the cameras out. I've got to put some batteries in some cameras, and start trying to find out what's where.
I got a 300-pound feeder and have filled it. Now it's empty twice. So
what are you running? What are you filling it with?
Right now I ran it for protein and I dropped salt and mineral in the ground. So, and that's what I've been feeding. And yes, I have one or two that I showed Erik the other day. They got some knobs on the end right at the ears. And this week they were looking a little bigger. So That's pretty cool. I'm pretty cool with that. I got another piece of property I ain't even got a camera on yet, so I got to get over there and look at that piece of property. But let's get backtrack a little bit. Eric, tell Robbie how to pronounce your last name.
Yeah, please.
Oh man, so there's two ways to do it. You can do it the Polish way, which is Czechowski, or you can do it the Americanized version, which is Czechowski. It doesn't matter. It's right either way. Yep. I've been saying Czechowski for 28 years, and I just figured out how to actually say it right. So,
Czechowski. I think that's what I'm going with.
Czechowski. That's right.
Czechowski. Yeah, it's a lot easier to say than it is to spell. I'll tell you that.
Yep.
Yeah. How long and at what grade were you in when you were able to finally spell your last name correctly?
Oh, dude, honestly, I've had family, like my wife's family has asked me that before. And I really can't remember, but I want to say I had to have been, honestly, probably kindergarten when I learned how to write.
I was in the 9th grade when I finally learned how to spell my name.
I just learned after college.
It was last week.
It was pretty early on, man, honestly. A last name like that, you kind of have to learn it early.
Yeah, because you got to explain it.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a little tough, especially getting having a podcast now for almost 2 years and getting to meet everybody that I've been able to meet. And I almost feel like they think I'm some Ukrainian businessman or something when I reach out to them because of the last name.
I did ask.
I mean, there's been a few times where they're like,
I did ask him where he's from.
Yeah. I was born in Chicago.
There you
go. I'm a damn Yankee. Unfortunately.
I explained to him.
You live south now. So
I explained to him what a damn Yankee was. See, a Yankee is just guys come to visit. Damn Yankees come to stay. So
that's me. That's me, man.
But anyway, like we announced before, you have a lot of different podcasts out with a lot of different celebrities in the archery industry. So what made you want to start a podcast?
Well, when I first started hunting about, it'd probably be about 5.5 years ago. I literally went 100% in, right? So I started in 2019, killed my first deer, my first sit, by the grace of God. It wasn't anything big, but after that, dude, I was hooked. So I would talk about it to my wife and my family all the time.
You need somebody else to talk to.
Yeah, I did. And so I started listening to podcasts, and I found Working Class. And
those guys are fun.
I love those dudes.
Who had a chance and an opportunity to hang out with a couple of them.
Yep.
Not going to go in depth in where we were.
They're great guys to hang out.
Had an absolute blast hanging out with them.
No doubt about it. It was something else. Those guys are great. And then you start listening to them, and they're average Joe.
So they were
no different than the rest of us.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had Kurt on a few times, and I like to consider him a friend now. If I call him or text him, he'll answer, and it's kind of crazy looking 5 years ago, I'm listening to this podcast, oh, dude, these guys are cool. It'd be really nice to know them. And, 5 years later, I literally can call them anytime I want. But I give them most of the credit because it's not only, wanting to talk with guys that are like-minded or interested in what I'm into, but they are, or were, Kurt now does it full time, but back then, and he's still Working Class, but back then he was doing the same thing we're doing, 9 to 5, and then he goes does the podcast stuff. And so I was like, man, I really think I should do this. So I thought about it for 2 years and finally, talked to my wife and was like, listen, if I don't start this now, I'm never going to do it.
Right.
And, I will say this. If you listen to the very first episode, don't. It's terrible.
No, you have to.
It's so bad.
Well, it's no different than anything that you do. There's always growing pains. There's always lessons that you learn as you go and do. You get better as you do. It's like filming hunts and going from one camera to another. There's a learning curve. So, there's always a learning curve.
Oh, you want to trade back so you can get this camera since you know everything? I'll get the new one.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. This is actually my webcam again. and it's not the camera. The camera works great. It's just something in the system. So I'm gonna rig it up the other way because I don't like this.
Yeah, I'm actually looking, and I know we are early on. I mean, we're like 7 seconds into this deal, and
Yep.
going down a rabbit hole. I'm actually looking at a DJI Pocket 3.
Hey, I told you that's a freaking nice. My little
I
Pocket
know.
2 is freaking awesome.
Yeah,
It makes some matter of fact. I'm glad you said that. So at the conclusion of this, not only will this video go up onto our YouTube channel, and it'll probably go up onto South Eastern Podcast YouTube channel, but I am also pushing out the first section of our shoot together
over at
Clybell with the podcast. So I have it ready. It's actually there. It'll go out, and then that way we can hopefully tag team it, talk about it, everybody hear it. Maybe it'll get a few more views. Who knows? But it's going to be a quick and simple, just shows around and video background, and not really listening to us, just watching people shoot.
I need y'all to start doing these kind of events on Sundays so I can drive up.
Dude,
we're going to. Next year we'll be on Sunday.
We have worked on this. So we have been collaborating to put it all together as one big monstrosity. And if it may turn into a 2-day thing, who knows? But yeah, Sunday is what's going to happen because a lot of guys were working, and they're like, man, if I wasn't working,
Yeah, I was talking to somebody earlier today about something slightly different, but it being on Saturday, and you know as well as I do, Saturdays are so hard for us to be able to participate.
For sure.
Because it's our Friday.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
All right, guys.
No, it ain't. No, you ain't got
it's
no
not
room
your
to
fault.
apologize. It's just the industry
it's the
that
business
we're in.
that we
it's our
picked.
career.
Yep.
But for us, Saturday is our Friday, so we miss out on a lot of things just simply because of that. I mean, I don't know any way to change it. I can't burn up 97 vacation days to do things on Saturdays because I don't have 97 vacation days.
Me and you both, brother. Me and you both. But yeah, so that sounds a lot like what I did with Georgia Archery. I mean, everybody knows that what I started with Georgia Archery is I used to keep a calendar and I would go and search where all the shoots were. Mm-hmm. And then I got people calling me saying, hey, you know where the shoots are? Where are they at? Who's shooting when? And I got to the point, it's like, hey, I'm just going to throw a website up. And so I threw a website up with the calendar so everybody could see it. And then turned around, and it's just grown from there. I did it from 2011 till 2015, and then I took the job at Ace, and it was a big change. Ace I had to start doing and building and doing things that, trying to get everything going. So I sort of fell to the back, and then we got Robbie in working, and Robbie's like, man,
I don't know why you did that.
And he said, I take him back in a heartbeat tomorrow. There's no doubt in my mind.
I was talking to somebody earlier this week, and they're like, dude, you just don't know how much you're missed. I'm like, well, that's mutual.
Yeah. They talk about you all the time. John even gets like a little tear sometimes.
You got to get that too, bro.
Yeah.
It's rough. But yeah, I'm glad you do the podcast though, John, because when you told me you did it, I honestly didn't even know.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see, especially somebody I know doing this too and getting to, collaborate on it.
Yep.
And it just adds to the whole thing. You were asking me why I did this. Mm-hmm. Well, it's mainly to, of course, I'd love for this to be like a full-time thing, right?
Wouldn't we all?
Yeah, it'd be great. But it's I also did it because I wanted to get to know more people that are in the industry that hunt. And the ironic thing to me, and the reason I brought up the first episode earlier was, if you go back to that, I'm pretty sure I say, as long as I can get T-Bone on one time, man, I'm happy. I don't care what happens with this. And now he's been on 3 times.
Yeah.
And it's
that's awesome.
It's crazy seeing, and I'm not saying that to hype myself up or anything, but it's crazy to see where you start at and where it goes.
Oh,
the growth, man.
And with you guys, you told me about a guest that you were thinking about getting on, and I was like, oh wow, that's like a big one. This was maybe a month ago.
Yep.
And I just like seeing that, dude. I like seeing people be successful. And that sort of leads me into the whole divide we have in the industry, or not in the industry, but in the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
And we can use working class, not working class has a metric to gauge against. I mean, those guys started no different than where you are or where we are,
Exactly.
and yet look where they are now.
Yep.
And,
for sure.
I used to follow a gentleman, and I still do, but not as closely as I used to, that always had a saying as how bad do you want it?
Yep.
It doesn't matter what it is, and I used that slogan when my wife was going through nursing school,
Yep.
How bad do you want this?
That's right.
And when you ask yourself that and you answer it, at that point, whether just how deep you're going to go into something or whatever it is. Look, I mean, you've had T-Bone, MFJJ, and Gillingham.
That's
and I
three.
don't know whom else, but that's
it's a
3 really good big names in the industry. I mean, I was doing some podcasts early on, and I've had Terry Rom, which is great. Don't get me wrong.
Terry's an awesome
Terry
guy.
is a turkey hunting legend. And then Mr. Tommy Walton. And I thought I was on cloud 9 with those 2 gentlemen.
That's right.
And then I look at, the notes that John's got. He's like, T-Bone. Hell, I tried to get him. Couldn't happen. MFJ?
Really?
No, I'm not interested. Gillingham? Well, I don't know if that's a discussion that we want to get in here, but
No, but it's
it's fine.
not that he's a bad guy by no means, because I don't think he is. Our bow working on methods may slightly vary.
Everybody's
and
different.
He's a little high strung.
Oh, you're talking about Gillingham.
No, I'm talking about MFJJ.
Oh, MFJJ. Well, I'll tell you, MFJJ is a different monster, but he's on a different coast.
Now T-Bone.
Travis is
great,
down
Travis
like 4
is
flat tires. There's no doubt about it.
As good as they come.
Yep. And
T-Bone is my end all be all. That's why when I did the Arrow series earlier this year, I started with, I'm pretty sure, Troy, Ranch Ferry, and ended with T-Bone. And I'm like, dude, everything I've thought, you're just completely agreeing with everything that I had already said is the whole middle ground, 450, 500 for the average guy. And T-Bone's like, yeah, that's perfect. I'm like, okay. So I just spent a whole month and a half for no reason to get that.
But
and how much money did you spend? Wasted, if you will, and maybe it wasn't wasted, but
time.
How much time and or money that you're not utilizing did you spend to get back to the middle ground?
Man, over the 3.5 years that I've been building my own arrows, probably it's in the thousands. I know that much.
To wind up right back at the 450 to 500 grain arrow to do everything that you need it to do for a whitetail.
Exactly. And the thing is, that will also work for when I go out west.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That weight is perfect for it. So,
for sure.
I don't know, man. Everyone, and I've said it before, but everyone is going to use what works for them. If you want to use a Ranch Ferry 1,000 grain arrow, by all means, go ahead.
Hey, I'll sell it to you if that's what you want.
325 grain arrow to 33-inch draw at 70 pounds, by all means, go for it.
Robbie, you'll sell them what they ask for, don't you?
I don't care what you use. If it works, it works.
And that's how I but that's how I talk to my customers in my shop. It's whatever you got confidence in. Just because it works for me doesn't necessarily mean that needs to be your perfect setup.
Yep.
But one thing that the Ranch Ferry doesn't often talk about, or at least I don't think he does, because I don't watch near as much of it as I used to. For everybody's midpoint is different. If you're a 27-inch draw length shooting a 60-pound bow, and I'm 29 and a half shooting 70, our midpoints ain't the same.
Not at all.
Not at all. 480 to 500 is where I want to be at my setup. Somebody shooting 60 pounds at 27 don't need to be 480 to kill a whitetail. I can promise you. I've got a kid that is 9 years old. His father and himself are customers of mine. 9 years old, 31 pounds of draw length, or 31 pounds of draw weight, 20 and a half inches of draw length, complete pass through on a
all day long,
20-ish pound doe this year at 15 yards.
Yeah,
with an arrow weight that may have been 330 grains.
If at the max, that's on the high side probably.
So that middle of the road is different for every archer, and I live in the middle of the road. I don't want super light, even though I have killed deer with a PSE X-Force at 324 foot a second, sub 400 grain arrow.
Yep.
Back in 2007 or 8, whatever it was. But I have also killed them with 550 grains. And you know what wound up? You know what the common denominator was? Passed through, and the arrow was in the dirt on the other side.
How
And I
deep on the
can't
other
tell
side?
you, I can't tell you that one was any further in the ground than the other.
That's right.
Well, and what does T-Bone always say?
I don't
Do you know?
honestly, and I know this is going to sound bad, but I spend every day, 5 days a week, working on these things and selling these things.
Yeah.
I don't go and spend as much time as listening to some of these other guys, like
Hey,
somebody that doesn't do it 5 days a week. So
what he
this
said,
may be a trick question. I may know it at the end, but
it kind of is. It kind of is, but it's kind of not, because I've had this argument with everybody that, you know, is in like my little hunting group, I guess you could say. All my buddies, Troy, everyone. And the one thing that I always circle back to is no matter what you're shooting, accuracy always wins.
absolutely.
So that's again what got me to the whole 450, 500 thing, because I'm, you know, shooting 68 pounds, 27.5-inch draw. I probably could get away with a little bit lighter, but, you know, if I'm confident with that mid-range, then
And it's
I don't
flying
understand.
Does what you want it to do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
Well, and I made a post Saturday, I think it was, because I got my mount back from the deer that I killed this past year. Hush, John.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Look, I'm not going there. If y'all want to go there, then I'll. But listen, all right. So
I'm going
I got
on
my
your
mount
page
back,
to see this.
and
As soon as we're done.
I killed this deer. He was when we weighed him 18 hours later, because when I killed him that night, I knew that I was going to mount him. I wanted some good photos. I've never had just good quality photos of a big deer that I'd ever killed.
Just dropped him in the cooler.
So I carried him to the processor, which is the same gentleman that mounted him, Hunter Futch at Lee Processor in Lee County, Georgia, did an outstanding job all the way around.
Looks good.
When I got there, I was like, "Hey, dude, I want to take some pictures tomorrow. Whatever you think we need to do in order to do that." He's like, "Well, we won't even gut him. We'll just slide him in the cooler." I wasn't going to eat him at 200, and he weighed 227 pounds the day after. I wasn't eating him, no way. With all that being said, we didn't weigh him. We just drug him in. He threw him in the cooler. I got back the next morning at like 11 o'clock, met the photographer over there. Nick took some pictures. When we loaded him back on the truck and carried him back over to the dock, I asked Hunter, I said, "Hey, man, can you weigh him? I'm just curious." Well, 12-ish, no, more than that, because I got there at like 10:30, 11 o'clock that morning. I shot the deer at like 6:45, so 14, 15 hours later, the deer weighed 227. Now, I shot this deer with a 495 grain arrow shooting a real big mechanical broadhead.
What kind of broadhead?
I didn't have 650 grains of arrow, and I wasn't shooting some small fixed blade broadhead. I shot him with a 2-inch 3-blade rear deploying mechanical broadhead, the G5 Megameat, which everybody knows.
Sir.
I will shoot.
Sir.
And the arrow was where?
Everything. Do what?
And where was the arrow?
Stuck on the ground on the other side.
Oh, okay.
Laying next to another arrow that had just went through a doe about an hour and a half earlier that also was a complete pass through.
That's right.
And made a mess in the corn pile and, killed a deer.
Yeah.
So you guys know what I'm thinking.
I'll go for it. Look, this is your half of the show. Just go on and dig it.
Look, this is where I'm gonna bail out.
Nope.
No. Hey, no. Look, me and Thor talked about this last week. All right. So for those who didn't listen to last week's episode, we touched on the C.J. Alexander buck and this situation with hemorrhage broadheads. I'm just going to say it outright. Everyone already knows that the owner of said company he seems to be bashing a lot of other broadhead companies. And, my opinion on that is, like, look, I work with VPA. All right. I don't even shoot mechanicals anymore. But before I got with VPA, I was shooting a Megameat. And I've had one problem with that broadhead, and it was user error. It was not the broadhead. So to see that post and say, "Oh, this is the worst broadhead out there," and blah, 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 and I'm like, really? I'm like, dude, first off, the video that you connected that post with, the kid dry fires his bow. So if you're going to film yourself do that, post it in a video, whether it's for giggles or not, you kind of lose credibility with me at that point. I understand that thing. It happens, right? Like, yeah, that happens. But you're doing a test on a broadhead in some of the worst mediums possible. There's only one good medium I've personally seen, and that's from Joe Miles doing his broadhead test. That makes the most sense. But it's like you pair your post up with that video, and then you're bashing the literal highest selling broadhead for the past 5 years. It doesn't get to that point without being a good broadhead.
No.
And the deer you see behind me on the wall, I killed him with one. With a bow that shot, I was maybe shooting 200 foot a second. Like, dude, they're so good. And if Ryan hears this from VPA, I think he'll understand. But those broadheads, if you're going to compare them to a fixed blade, you can't really do that. Because comparing a mechanical to a fixed blade like that post was doing, you're comparing apples to oranges.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And let me backtrack a little bit and not to interrupt. The reason why I brought up the deer that I posted on Saturday and the post that I made wasn't necessarily about the broadhead itself, but it was the arrow weight. So I'm shooting a 495 grain arrow currently.
Yep.
495, I think it may be 505. Irregardless, it's still middle of the weight or middle of the road.
29 inches.
29 inches on. I shoot my target bow a little bit longer than I shoot my hunt bow just because of being in a saddle, being in a lock-on, being in a climber, whatever. I don't want to be overextended. So I shoot my hunt bow about a half inch shorter than my target bow.
Yep.
All right. So with all that being said, let's just call it 500 grains for rough math. Shooting a 2-inch 3-blade rear deploying mechanical broadhead. That 500 grain arrow went completely through this 227 pound deer that was thick. Like I am from here in Southwest Georgia. I moved when I was in my early 20s to the Metro Atlanta area, Social Circle area. Killed a lot of deer up there. Don't get me wrong, gun and bows or whatnot, but the deer thickness there, and let's just say for Social Circle, Covington, Madison, Putnam, you'll come across a big deer. Not like these. Our deer are ag deer.
They're farm fed.
Thick.
They're farm fed.
Farm fed deer.
Flat land.
500 grain. Yeah. That 500 grain arrow with a big mechanical broadhead went slammed through that deer like hot butter.
Well, in that broadhead, man, there's so much. Like, I've talked to T-Bone about it. I've talked to Waddell about it. That broadhead has so much engineering put into it. If you look at, like, the blade angle and everything, it makes sense. Now, will a single bevel fixed blade penetrate better? Yeah, of course, because it's 2 blades, single bevel, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But I can tell you both, and I know you guys both know this, but for the listeners, I've shot both a single bevel and I've shot the mega meat, and I can tell you finding that deer is much easier when you have a 2-inch hole.
For sure.
Plain and simple.
For sure.
But I will also say I did do the switch, not just because of VPA, but I did do the switch because I had a bad experience. But after looking back on it, because I'm thinking that, like, the broadhead just opened up in flight or whatever, and well, I'm not going to use those anymore. Like, I was mad, right? It was a rough season last year. I'm not going to lie. But, after gut shotting a deer for the first time last year with the mega meat, I felt gut shot, right? Like, I don't like that. I don't want that deer to suffer. It was not a big deer. It was probably a yearling. Totally bad situation. The meat tasted great, but you get what I'm saying? So
wait, back up. You gut shot a deer, but you ate the meat. So that means you still recovered your animal.
You still found it.
Oh, yeah. And so that's what I was getting at. Is, yes, the broadhead had a quote-unquote mechanical failure, if you want to say that, for the people that want to argue this. But if you look back on it, had I have made that same shot with a fixed blade, never would have found the deer. It would have taken twice as long to die, and there would not have been a hole the size of my fist. And so the only reason that broadhead opened up is because I didn't change the retaining collar.
He had already used it. Yep.
Exactly. It's the exact same head that I killed this deer behind me with.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, it worked last time, and
clean
I
it
learned
out.
from that.
Yeah.
But see, that's neither here nor there. And I'll go back to it because I know the man, and I've told him, we've known each other for years.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't care who you are, bashing another product to make yours look better. I don't care if it is better, but to bash somebody else's, it's not good. I work in an archery shop. Robbie works in an archery shop. Am I ever going to say, well, you ain't going to go down there because they did that? Nope, I'm not. I will turn around and say, hey, are you in that area? You go see Robbie. Hey, are you in that area? Go see whoever, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all in this archery. The archery community is too small to bash everybody.
Right.
Yep.
And that's my biggest, and I'm not, like, if y'all want to go down that rabbit hole, go for it. I'm not, I said what I was going to say on social media on the original post.
That's all I was going to say is that it's too small.
You don't build a product.
No. Off of bashments.
Bashing a product.
No.
And here's my, and this is like legitimate reasons why I shoot a mega meat. Okay. This past year, I killed 11 deer with my bow. So there was 11 deer that went in the back of my truck because of a mega meat. I will not try to shoot one tight to the shoulder. I just won't do it. When I can shoot a hole the size roundabouts of a baseball, between a baseball, a golf ball, and a baseball.
Oh, that's kind of hard.
I saw that. It was
Sorry.
kind of cool. Thank you. I love you too. When I can shoot a hole in a deer from the size of a golf ball to a baseball and go to my deer afterwards, I'm going to do it.
That's
I'm not going to try to shoot tight to the shoulder, because if you look, and I know this from at least from a processor standpoint too, because I know a couple of them around here too, and they all tell me the same thing, not to mention a guy that has a thermal drone that finds deer with the thermal drone. The most recovered deer are deer that are shot back. May take a little longer.
That's right.
But they're recovered. And the ones that they don't find are the ones that are shot forward. I'm never going to try and shoot a deer forward. Now, I may make a mistake, because the deer don't make a mistake when you shoot at a deer. We, as the archer, the hunter, are the ones that make a mistake. The deer's trying to live, and it's doing whatever it's going to do to try to survive.
100%.
With all that being said, I want to run a real big hole into that animal and let it lay, and I run white on white. I can look at my veins. I can look at my wrap. Probably should have let that one lay. And a lot of times what we think we see, ain't always what we see. Sometimes it is. And that's one good thing about having white on white is I can that deer's toast. I knew I saw a good shot. This is also, I'm seeing a good shot. We can go.
It's two check process.
Wait.
Two check process.
Mm-hmm.
But
my thing is, and I know we're probably not going to go down this rabbit hole, but I have to say it, is the whole, like, my reason for bringing this up about, hemorrhage and the mega meat debate and all that. Like, again, I don't even shoot either broadhead, but I hate how when I go on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or even YouTube nowadays, all I'm seeing is people bashing one another and dividing the whole community.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, look, Jesus said it best. A house divided cannot stand. Okay,
right.
So if you are going to be doing that, you're not helping the situation.
Well,
and it just gets under my skin, man. That's
another point, like I sell a whole bunch of QAD Exodus. I sell a whole bunch of Montec M3s. I sell a bunch of Rages. I just ordered today some of the new B3 exoskeleton or whatever the over the top. I sell several Swackers a year. One of the guys that owns Swacker Broadheads has a farm in the county of which my shop lies in.
Yes, he does.
So do I have a favorite head? Yes, it's the one that I have confidence in. If you come to me and ask me, hey, what do you recommend? I'm going to tell you the Mega Meat, because it has done very well for myself. My wife shot a deer with a dead meat this year. The deer didn't run 75, 80 yards. My daughter shot two with a crossbow that didn't. Neither one of them deer made 75 yards. Nathan, my son, shot 3 this year and 3 or 4 last year. I mean, so since I've moved back to Southwest Georgia, we have killed 35 deer or so with a mega meat. Now, you have to understand, a lot of these are, hey, man, I got to have some does killed. We got to kill X amount of does.
For sure. Yeah.
Can you help me?
You don't
Yeah,
have 35 Pope and Youngs hanging on the wall from one mega meat.
No.
But you're killing deer with it and using it.
Well, that's
Yes,
So,
you get to see
Yep.
a lot of hemorrhage, if you will, created by the mega meat.
that's right.
Now,
Yep.
here's another thing, and this is where I was going to say a while ago. Early on, when we first opened, we were, I guess it would have been the middle of 2021 deer season. The processor that I spoke of a while ago, Hunter Futch, and his dad, Jeff calls me and he's like, "Hey, man, what's these broadheads you're selling to everybody?" What you mean, Mr. Jeff? I sell a bunch of broadheads. These meat eaters or something. You mean mega meats? Yeah, the mega meat. Yes, sir. It's a G5 mechanical, rear deployment mega broadhead. I mean, that's what I shoot, and I sell a bunch of them. You got any? Yes, sir. All right, I got because he cuts yards too. He's like, I got to cut a couple yards, and I'm coming back by the shop. Can you grab me a couple packs and set them behind the counter? Well, yeah, for sure, not a problem. And when a processor says that to you,
Yeah.
it's very eye-opening because they see a lot,
Yep.
far more than a guy behind the counter sees. Because we see our customers, they leave, they come back, they tell us stories. A processor sees the Muzzies
Front
and
hand.
the Rages and the Megas and
Front
the
hand
Deads and the
damage.
Trocars and
yeah.
the Exoduses and the U's and the Me's and the I's and the Those. They see it all.
Yep.
For a guy that owns a processor to call and say, "Hey, I want some of them," to me speaks volumes.
I mean, y'all should have seen when I shot Pickles over here. I took him up to Newbern Taxidermy.
Well,
Right,
he shoots mega meats. I promise
Exactly. Dude, I showed up with that deer, and he was like, "Oh, my God." I was like, "Yeah, bro." And then, so now, obviously, Jay Maxwell goes up there and uses Chip, and I've
Yep.
become friends with Chip, too.
Chip's a
and
good guy.
Chip's awesome, man. I'm supposed to get him on the podcast, but
It just
I
not
just
works
haven't.
out. Yep.
Well, there's been a lot going on.
Mhm.
But, excuses aside, I went up there last season and saw every single deer. And I didn't do this, intentionally, just so kind of happened this way. But I saw every single deer that Jay Maxwell shot with a mega meat. And each one of them, dead as a doornail, good shot, and just blown open.
Well,
So-
that's a point that I will say. And I tell you what I think, and this has nothing to do with, we're going to take broadhead name out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if a mechanical broadhead flies more like a field tip, right, in general, then the average Joe that picks up a bow from, let's say, not a professional archery shop, but buys it off of a big box store, basic setup, goes and screws them on and shoots and kills his first deer that has a half a horn on his head because he makes a decent shot because of the broadhead, I'm happy.
Yeah.
If he screwed on the
Wouldn't be.
same two single bevel, two blade, whatever, that arrow may not fly out of his bow.
Yeah.
Not knocking the broadhead. It's not the broadhead's fault. But a lot of people out here today, the average Joe bow hunter, don't tune to the and doesn't work to the what we do,
Oh, that's another rabbit hole that we can
Oh,
go down for
for-
hours.
Dude.
for sure.
I'd
But
be
what I'm
divorced
saying
if we
is-
went down that rabbit hole.
My process on this is that if that broadhead does the damage it does for us, the average Joe bow hunter that doesn't shoot very often, doesn't practice very often, and doesn't have a bow that's tuned perfectly, can still kill animals. Why not shoot that
Yeah.
broadhead?
Yeah, and that's
Well-
the downside. And sorry, Eric, I didn't mean
No, you're fine.
to interrupt, but from a bow tech standpoint, like John,
Yeah.
and I guess we should take and put a little emphasis on this, at least for a small section here. That's the downside of a fixed blade, and especially a big cutting fixed blade. Yes, you can take a bow to the bow shop. Yes, they can paper tune it, get it to shoot a good hole. You can go out and shoot 20 yards and shoot well, but a lot of archers, maybe the majority of archers that shoot a
100%.
fixed blade, don't put the time that it requires to shoot the fixed blade
Like it should.
effectively. Yes, we can.
100%.
Yes, we can. get it to shoot a good hole in paper, but there's more to it than that.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
You know, you need to take that head home. You need to shoot it at 20 and 30 and 40 yards. And if it's not hitting with your field points, take good notes.
Group tune it. That's right.
And group tune it.
100%.
All right, so I can shoot at 40 yards. At 20 yards, my fixed heads hit with my field points, but at 40, they're 3 inches right. Okay, well, I know what I need to do as the bow tech in order to fix that.
Yep.
But you can't do that in every shop.
No.
So bow techs get a bad name because, man, my fixed blades won't hit with my field tips. Or
Yep.
the broadhead itself gets a bad name because my fixed blades won't hit with my field tip. Well, when did you find that out? Well, I shot a deer in the butt.
That's what I was getting at. It hasn't, so much. There's no names in this. I mean, don't get me wrong. I shoot G5. Everybody knows I shoot G5. I've shot them since the beginning. Robbie knows that since they, come through. I actually shot I was a 3-blade guy, no matter what, right? And so I actually tried the Rage 3-blade. I didn't like it. And so I went to a different, which Rocket made a 3-blade that I loved for the longest time, mechanical. And I shot it for a while, and I shot, several fixed blades. But at the same time, like Robbie just went through, I know the steps to make one shoot. And I know people who right now that may not know the steps, but what they do is they'll practice, and they sight in with their broadhead. And then they can hit everything they want to with a broadhead. Maybe the most common I've seen lately is a little low and a little right. Right? And as you back up, that little low and little right gets bigger. But if you sight in for it, then it works fine. So I know people who do that too. But, I mean, that's
the
not...
downside to sighting into that is if you're not careful, you sight into one distance, and as you work your way back, that changes. So, there's. I mean, we can go into tuning issues for days on different things, but my point being is that if best way to fix that,
screw a mechanical broadhead. Screw a mechanical broadhead on it that flies like a field tip.
You guys are right though, man, and to I guess wrap up the whole broadhead debate, if we're even going to call it that. I had to learn it the hard way, right? Like I came up and was like, oh, Rage. And a certain person that we all know who will not be named set me up terribly, and I'm shooting a 2.3 Rage at 40 pounds. Had no idea. 325 grain arrow, had no idea what I was doing. So I had to learn, so I go from that. Then I go to, what did I shoot? I forget what fixed blade. I want to say the Montec, right? So then I'm shooting my bow with the Montec. Or no, it was the Exodus. And I was shooting the Exodus. Had no idea how to broadhead tune.
Yep.
And these arrows are hitting 6-7 inches left. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm just going to move my sight over, and everything was fine. But throughout the past 3.5-4 years, looking stuff up, especially after starting the podcast and, getting to know guys like you better.
Talk to people.
And, I've learned just from trial and error what methods work and what methods don't. And, dude, I'll tell you right now, man, I will shoot any broadhead just to test it. I mean, I prefer VPA for fixed blades and I prefer G5 for mechanicals, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't test out a new Sever or a new Rage I'm not a huge Schwacker fan, but I would still try it just for fun. The thing is, like, people, if you're going to use a fixed blade, I feel like when they buy that, whoever sells it to them needs to tell them, this will not fly like your field point. So there's
some work that's got to go into it.
Exactly. You need to know how to tune this. If you don't, go to your local bow shop. If you're at your local bow shop, ask the guy. It's not that hard. I'm sorry to throw a plug in the middle of a point that you're making, but it's it's going to go with the point that you're making. Go to your local bow shop. Yep.
Don't go to your local bow shop September 1st and expect that you're going to be able to get 3 hours.
Nah, man. I've done that.
As archers, and I'm an archer first, now is when that stuff should happen.
100%.
Not
That's
September.
why I'm doing it now.
And I hope those that are listening to this will somewhat understand, because I don't know if I'm good or not. I don't know if I'm good at what I do or not, but I seem to have a decent amount of people that call in at least ask questions or bring me their bows for me to work.
I know you just didn't say that.
So what I'm saying though is I'm one person. All right.
Yeah.
So right now there's currently one bow tech in my shop, and that is me.
Mm-hmm.
I got a young lady that helps me. She can do some receiving. She can do some price tagging. She can tie a day loop. She can tie some peeps. But for her to know what to do when a broadhead is hitting left at 30 versus a field point, she doesn't know that. I, at September 1st, have you, John, Jim, Bob, Bill, Bo, and
Timothy.
several others that are waiting. You owe it to yourself as the archer and the deer that you're hunting to do that sort of stuff now.
Yep.
And if you have enough respect for the animal that you're chasing,
yes,
and I guess it ultimately goes down to the respect of the animal that you're chasing. Now's when you should do that.
100%.
Now, I said a while ago, if you want to fix your bad broadhead flight by throwing a mega meat on, don't get me wrong, mega meats won't always hit with their field tips if their bows are bad.
Jacked up. Yeah.
Or you got some grip issues going on or whatever.
There's a lot of
because there's some
stuff that can
surface
lead to
area there on a mega meat that's, if you got real bad arrow flight with a fixed blade and you're trying to clean it up with just changing broadhead, a dead meat would be a better option because there's less surface area on the front of that front of that head to create the arrow to plane one way or another. So if that's going to be the fix, then you better go to a smaller cut mechanical.
100.
There's a lot to it, dude.
114 days, 9 hours, 45 minutes, and 11 seconds and counting. And you can find that time countdown on the front page of GeorgiaArchery.com.
So everybody that's listening to this, and my wife just texted me and said that the BLTs and the French fries are getting cold, so I'm going to have to wind this up.
Yeah, I've got to go help my wife unload her car.
We all have to do our thing. But
get to your local bow shop.
Look,
tune into the South Eastern BowHunter Podcast.
100%.
And I'm sure it's probably like
Spotify's the number one spot.
Podcast.
Yep.
You can find it on just about any podcast platform that's out there. Yep. I prefer Spotify because I am a Spotify user. Go to your local bow shop. Get your stuff worked on now. Do not wait till September 1st. Tune into the Southeastern BowHunter Podcast. Tune into the Georgia Archery Podcast. 229-800-6972. You can call Shiver Outdoor and Archery 770. John's going to have to finish it because I don't remember the number.
464-3354.
Yeah.
Ace
Ask
Archery.
Questions.
That's right.
Find you somebody that you can trust. Get your stuff worked on now.
100%.
Don't wait, which we as guys tend to do.
Procrastinate? Nah.
But it's not a good idea.
Yep.
I am the worst at it, man. And yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I'm getting John and Mark to put some new strings on my obsession back here, and I'm trying to get ready. But
that's right.
Honestly, guys, I want to thank y'all for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this again soon, and as you guys probably know, if you've listened to the episodes, in every single intro, I always have to give credit to my boy JC, Mr. Jesus Christ. So if you don't mind, I just want to give a shout out, to him and give him all the glory. Because honestly, what we're doing right now would not be able to have happened if it wasn't for him. So
100%.
I had to throw that in there. And, all the guests that we've had on the podcast, including you guys now, which is fantastic. Again, it wouldn't have happened without him. So yeah, man, I want to do this again if you guys don't mind.
Dude, I'm down like 4 flats. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, because there's so many more things we could talk about.
Well, see, there's in the works will be a live stream with multi people in the works. That's the
John's
plan.
A technical guru. If you
you tell me when that happens. And
we're working on it. Like I said, well, you already got. Look, Robbie, I snuck him the link, so you just send him a text message. Say, man, I can't make it. Let him fill in for you.
Okay, hey, look,
I'll do it.
I did.
I don't know anything about target.
Times like
for sure, it's gonna happen.
This week is my daughter's birthday week, so I was kind of like, all right, am I going to be able to force this in and not do this on Thursday, or am I going to have to put this off to Thursday? There's times that it's
scheduling is crazy.
Yep,
honestly, that's the hard part.
Especially when you're trying to do something every week.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
And you got 2 people, 3 people, 4 people that you're trying to. I mean, it can get tough.
For sure, but I appreciate everything. Like you said, if you you can find the Southeast BowHunter Podcast on YouTube podcast. It's on Spotify. I think you use Anchor. So
Spotify for podcasters.
Yeah.
So basically, same thing.
But a multi-places, you can find Georgia Archery wherever you find Georgia Archery at. If you have an information or you saw something you want us to talk about, Robbie hit it last time, you want to talk about arrows, bows, whatever, be sure to send us an email, send us a message, georgiaarchery@gmail.com. And you can find the calendar, if anything else, on the website. This stuff goes out live onto YouTube, the video version, and the audio is up soon. I appreciate it very much. I just want to say one other thing is we do not need to be divided. So if a guy shoots a 2-pointer, celebrate the hunt, not the thing. Take somebody, teach them how to shoot a bow. It'll last them a lifetime. Until next time, I'm Big John.
And I'm Robbie.
We'll see ya.
Later, boys.
See you, bud.